Okay, live. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Every week is an adventure in technology, and whether we're going to be successful. I'm just putting my phone on mute. So please, everybody, join me in turning off your notifications. I'm also just changing the light slightly because I can see everything glinting. So we'll start with a 3-step breathing space as we usually do. Just getting myself sorted out here. So get yourself comfortable. Sit in a way that you can support yourself and that you're upright and comfortable. Particularly, I think that it's important to tuck your hands into a place where you can support your shoulder girdle. It's very heavy. So just come to stillness and come to sitting. If you have a preferred way of getting yourself centered and a preferred way of coming to this moment, then take the next few moments to do this. And if you don't have any preferences, then my suggestion is to go to the body. Go deep inside of the body, deep down into your belly, or even go deeper into your feet if you're sitting up. And the knack is, of course, not to think about being in the feet, but to be actually in the feet. Not to think about being in the body, but to be actually in the body. And the key to making the difference between thinking about being in the feet or being in the body or being in the breath is to gently ask yourself, what's here? What is it I am experiencing? And that has the effect of bringing your attention and your mind to the experience of being inside your breath, your belly, or your feet. What's here? What am I experiencing? Of course, you'll notice that your experience changes. That as we sit, there is no one single experience. You may have started in one state of mind and then quite naturally transition to a new state of mind. And you might swing back again, or you might swing somebody else, somewhere else. Just letting these state changes come and go. Allow things to arise and allow them to disappear. And when you're ready, just take 1 or 2 slightly deeper breaths and come back to the group and to eyes open. So, I just need a stretch. If you need a stretch, please feel free. So, hello people on YouTube and hello people on Zoom. Lovely to see you. And I'll talk for 10 minutes maybe, and then we'll do a practice. And tonight is called the Sword of Insight. The Sword of Insight. And I want to weave a couple of things together in talking about the Sword of Insight. The first thing is to kind of destroy a myth. It's the myth that we are thinking creatures, that we are able to have thoughts. So bear with me. That's a very strange thing to say. But what has become very clear from modern psychology is that we are very, very rarely thinking from first principles, from the ground up, from base data. What is more likely to be the case is that we are using old data. So we're, somebody's leaving, bye-bye. That we're using old data, old thought patterns, and more importantly, that our mind is working as a predictive machine. That is, our mind is trying to get ahead of ourselves. It's always trying to think into the future. So it's trying to predict that we're going to get hungry. It's trying to predict that we're getting thirsty. It's trying to predict that we're getting tired. And because it's predicting, it's therefore urging us to take action, to eat, to drink, to have a rest. And our mind, as this predictive machine, is uniquely designed to keep us alive. In fact, 90% of our brain, if you like, 90% of our behaviors, 90% of who we are is just about staying alive. A huge amount of resource goes into that. And if you think about it, that's what evolution needs from us, right? Evolution needs us to stay alive so that we can have babies, keep those babies alive, pass our genes on to the next generation, and then our job's done. But to do that, we have to stay alive. And probably we have to stay alive for 2 generations, because we also have a role in caring for the babies of our babies. So nature doesn't care about our happiness. Nature cares about our survival. So above all else, our mind is designed to keep thinking, keep predicting, keep looking for ways to ensure our survival. And almost at any cost, our brain will do anything to keep us alive. But knowing that it's not actually designed to keep us alive and happy begins to show what the problem is with this sort of model of us as human beings, this model of us as thinking human beings. So there's a saying in the literature which is concerning doubt and the role that doubt has in helping us to see how this cycle of thinking and prediction is both serving us because we're staying alive, but it's also limiting us because it's keeping us alive, as I say, at all costs, and that cost might be our happiness. So the saying in the literature is, if we have big doubt, we have the potential for big liberation. If we have moderate doubt, we have the potential for moderate liberation. If we have little doubt, little liberation, and no doubt equates to no liberation. So the literature is trying to point us to the possibility of liberating ourselves from the predictive machine, from this brain that doesn't want to consider what is actually happening, but wants to tell us it knows what's happening. And by introducing doubt into what our brain tells us, we have the potential to unfetter ourselves. We have the potential to release. We have the potential to grow. We have the potential to see new things. So doubting our thinking mind is very, very helpful in the practice of mindfulness. And through this doubt, we have the possibility of generating insight. Now, when you're sitting there in practice, so much of what we experience in our practice is the thinking mind. You know, it's the interpretation of what's happening. It's telling us, I don't get this, I can't do this, I've never been able to meditate. Or it's telling us, I love meditation. This is bliss, you know. And all of these things are just thought artifacts. They are constructions of our mind. So if we can doubt what we are experiencing, it helps us to get closer to the actual experience. So it helps us to penetrate behind the thinking. And this process of penetrating behind our thinking has a very, very profound flavor and a very profound bodily impact. So when we discover something which is truly not thinking, but is insight, it literally rocks our world, and that probably shows up in the body. Something very, very fundamental changes and shifts. I was talking to one lady I work with a bit the other day, and she said that she was sitting in meditation and she felt literally like she had lifted off. She felt like she was up in the air, and actually it wasn't pleasant. You know, it wasn't a good feeling. It wasn't a sense of freedom. It was a sense of being untethered. And at that moment that she realized she felt like she was floating, she also had this sense of, you know, that she described it as sliding doors, like something had shifted in her future, something had actually radically changed about her potential. And this is why it's often called the sword of insight, or it could be called the flaming sword, the flaming sword that sort of has the possibility of cutting through the thinking to show us something that is profound and undeniable. But it's profound and undeniable in a way that sort of evades language as well. So that's the other bizarre thing, is that something can shift or move or become terribly apparent, but it can evade our ability to quantify it, it can evade our ability to describe it, it can evade our ability to put language to it, because it is beyond language. The thinking, if it was from the thinking mind, then we would be able to associate language with it, because our thinking mind is very good with language. But this idea of the sword of insight, which penetrates beyond or underneath or through thinking, often leaves us with a sense of something profound, something undeniable, a truth that we previously haven't seen, but also something that we then struggle to describe or put words to. So I wrote down, it's a realization of a truth that is so profound it can knock us sideways. And I had just a glimmer of one the other day, which I can't possibly describe to you how it happened, why it happened, but it gave me a truth that I had either denied or chosen not to see, or something else for all my living days up until now. But it just knocked me sideways. It went, it had that. So thinking can be very subtle, and it can wrap itself up and pretend to be this insight. We can have all sorts of things visit us in our meditation, which we think, oh, this is an insight, and we kind of get excited, but it can be thinking kind of in disguise. And that's why I wanted to talk about this idea of, something shifting, something moving, something visceral happening, being knocked sideways, because it's the clarity that comes with this that helps you to differentiate it from a thought that's telling you, oh, this is profound, and something that is genuinely profound and penetrating. It kind of can't be described, but it arises, and you know it to be truth. You absolutely know it to be truth. So I wanted to just share with you a couple of things. One is a little I had it up on my phone, and of course, as usual, these things don't work as well as you'd like it to. Excuse me while I look it up. So one thing that I was reading is just a short quote. It's from a writer and philosopher called Robert Wright. And he says, like a lawyer, the human brain wants victory, not truth. Like a lawyer, it's sometimes more admirable for skill than virtue. And one of my professors used to say to me, we think that the mind is like a judge, a judge that sits there and weighs up the evidence and is very open to all facts and all perspectives. And my professor used to point out, our mind is not like a judge. Our mind is like a lawyer who's defending. And the lawyer mind is defending our ego and our perspective. And it's not even letting us see the evidence. We don't even, the mind doesn't even allow us to see the evidence that doesn't fit. And then if you're into more romantic poetry, the lovely Sufi philosopher Rumi wrote, "Don't turn away. Keep your gaze on the bandaged place. That's where the light enters you." So in the practice, we're going to sort of follow this idea of Rumi, and we're going to use a modification of a Zen practice. So Zen often uses koans or riddles or questions that are unanswerable in order to try and encourage this penetrating sword of insight. And so the things we're going to do is just, I'm going to introduce two different questions. So the questions are not designed for your mind to answer. They're designed for the meditation to answer. So when I ask a question, don't set your mind off if you can help it. Try and just sit with the question, if you like. Sit with the question in your lap, in your hands, and allow it to penetrate you, to see what happens. And so I'll use two different questions, and they're designed to provoke two different types of insight or two different types of penetration. And we will sit for about 20 minutes. So if you want to turn your cameras off, if you want to lie down, if you want to adjust your position, I need a sip of water, excuse me. Orange juice. So one of these questions is a bit provocative. If you find it's triggering in any way, just return to the breath. So you don't have to muscle your way through this one. You could just stay with the first question. So once again, just spend some time with your posture, upright, central, symmetrical. Allow yourself to shut your eyes and go deep inside of yourself. Maybe feel the warmth and comfort of stillness. Just notice how your breath changes, how your body changes, how your hearing changes. All your senses very gently and subtly readjust and reattune in some way. Anchor your attention to your breath, or anchor your attention to the belly and the body. If you're sitting upright, just begin to notice if you're leaning too far forward or too far back. Sometimes our keenness shows up in our posture. You become too tight. You become too involved in achieving. We see this as we lean into the practice. And also sometimes we lean back, sort of distancing ourselves. Continue to monitor your posture so you're upright in a neutral position. So of course a neutral spine and a neutral posture helps our mind to adopt a neutral stance as well. You have a choice, and the choice is whether you want to stay close in or wide open. And this largely depends on your current state. You know, whether you feel like you're lacking a bit of energy, then probably stay close in. But if you feel refreshed, and if your mind feels calm, and if you'd like to, you can open your attention more widely and take in a broader spectrum, so wider listening, wider sensing. If you're a bit more like a satellite dish. And if you want to stay close in, it's a bit more like you've got a magnifying glass and you're staying focused on the breath, or staying focused inside of the body. So just spend the next few minutes tuning into either wide open or close in focus. And notice if you want to flip-flop between the two of them. And gently take control and decide not to do that. You're going to stay with whatever your choice is. Just choose either wide open or close in. And now that you're settled on one practice area, just gently drop into this practice the question, what is it What is this? The answer to that question doesn't come from the head, it doesn't come from the thinking mind. What is this? Comes from somewhere deeper, somewhere else. And maybe no answer comes at all, and that's fine too. What is this? That's the entirety of the investigation. And in the spirit of the Rumi poem, you may also begin to ask yourself, what emotion am I trying not to feel? What emotion am I trying not to feel? Stay with whatever you're trying not to feel. That's the bandaged place, and that's also where the light comes in. So two choices of reflection question. What is this? That's plain and simple. What is this? Alternative question. What emotion am I trying not to feel? And staying with that. Staying whatever bandaged place that reveals. And for the last few moments of this practice, just return your attention entirely to the breath. Let go of all those questions, let go of any technique. Just abide in the stillness and the restfulness of the breath. It might be nice to offer yourself a deep bow of gratitude for showing up tonight and practicing. And if you feel like it, just offering yourself the standard metta phrases that we use. May I be well. May I be happy. May I live at peace and with ease. May I be well. May I be happy. May I live at peace and with ease. When you're ready, just transition really slowly, very carefully back to eyes open and to the breath. Just taking your time, adding some movement to the body, encouraging the breath to change and deepen or whatever needs to happen. And come back to eyes open. So if you're on the YouTube feed, it's at this point that I say goodbye to you and I allow my guests who are on the Zoom feed to interact and just say some words. So thank you for joining me on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place.